Hey everyone, welcome to the Asset Management Mastery podcast. I'm your co-host Kyle Mitchell, also joined by Gary Lipsky. This segment is focused on educating operators, building better systems, and becoming a best-in-class operator. Also, be sure to check out our Facebook group, Asset Management Mastery. All right, today on the show, we have Andrew Cushman. Andrew, thanks for being on the show.
Good to be here, Kyle. Gary?
Awesome. Well, if you can start by telling the listeners more about yourself and what you currently do.
Yeah, I used to be a chemical engineer, quit doing that to start flipping houses in California in 2007. That was great for 4 years, but it felt more like a different type of job. So got a mentor, learned how to syndicate apartment complexes in 2011. And since then, we've done about 2,100 units in Texas and the Southeast United States.
Fantastic. Well, let's talk about managing the manager today. Let's say a newbie syndicator is looking to find and hire a third-party property management company. What are the best practices for that?
Well, what I found to be the best, especially like you said, if you're starting out in a new market, you just got your first big deal. What we did and what we do anytime we're going to a new market is whoever you got that asset from, and usually it's a broker, especially if you're in the beginning, it's probably a broker. So what we did, and would continue to do, is we say, okay, if you were buying this asset, who are the top 2 or 3 management companies that you would hire to come manage this thing, right? And then add them to your list, and then talk to all the other brokers you know, and ask the exact same question. And so, because one, it gives you a good excuse to talk to them and build a relationship. But then you say, hey, look, I'm under contract and closing on this thing in a month. If you were buying it, who would you hire? So you build a list of, let's say, 6, 7, 8 management companies. Then you take that list, you go do internet research, find out, what their internet presence is, the properties that they manage, do they have good reviews? Do the pictures look nice? And you'll end up ruling out probably half of them just by stuff, you find online that you're not going to like, because that's what your property is going to look like. Narrow it down to 3 or 4, and then do phone interviews with preferably the owners of the company. Now, if you're talking about a management company that manages 60,000 units across the United States, it's probably not going to be the owner, but whatever the highest level up person that you can get. We prefer mid-sized management companies where they're big enough. And to me, that's 20, 30,000 units under management, maybe 10, where they're big enough to have scale and experience and depth and knowledge, but not so big that you're just another line item on a spreadsheet, right? So we try to interview the owners. We narrow it down to 2 or 3 most at max. And then I fly out and do lunch or dinner with the owner and maybe even a regional or 2. And then, once that's done, pick our horse and go with it, and make it very clear that we're not just hiring the property to hand it off to you. We see this as an operating partnership because, buying it's great and exciting. Financing it is, that's good, but the wrong management can turn a great deal bad in no time. So,
yeah, I think that's great advice, because I don't think people spend enough time really vetting that property management company, which is so important.
Yeah, you'll hear lots of third-party management nightmares, and part of the reason for that is not properly vetting them up front. And also it doesn't mean they're bad. It might mean you hired them for the wrong type of property that's not their expertise. Right. You want to make sure that your type of asset is what they are best at managing.
So, Andrew, what makes a great property management company to you, and how do you help them get there? Because a lot of times they might not be there.
Yeah, a great property management company. I mean, I would say, there's a handful of things, but one is, to me, it's more of a mindset of for example, the management company that we use, they will fire clients and they will refuse to take clients. So they're not looking to grow at all costs. They want to make sure that not only are they a good fit for the owner, but they want to make sure the owner is going to be a good fit for them, right? So to me, that's a good sign. A management company that won't just hire anybody. Another good sign that to me is an indication of a good management company is if you're doing due diligence on a property and you're talking to that management company saying, hey, I'm considering buying this. If they just give you good reports every time, that's a really bad sign. But if they come and say, hey, you know what, we would recommend you don't buy that because of this, this, and this, they're in a sense turning down business, but they're doing it to your benefit. That to me is a real positive. Also, it shows that they're not so desperate for business that they'll just take on anything. And then beyond those 2 things, the third thing I would say is just more of a partnership mentality that, again, getting back to, you're not just going to be another, you're not going to be property number 634 on their Excel spreadsheet. You are, a partner, a client that they can grow with and over time and share and work together, as opposed to, hey, we'll send you a report once a month. Don't call us,
Yeah. Really good advice. Maybe tell us about your biggest challenge you've had to face with working with a property management company.
The biggest challenge is, I would say is managing renovations. Now, and then, again, this gets down to who you pick. So fortunately, the management company that we work with, they do have in-house rehab management coordinators, and they're very good. But still, if you're, for example, we're buying 250 units right now, and there's 3 different properties involved in that, and each one is a different level of renovation. So even with a renovation coordinator, that's still a lot to figure out, and like, how do we track it and make sure that everything is, being done to the right standard, and that it's not, the right communication of, oh, well, hey, we said we're going to do this, and then we find out, well, it's costing $2,000 more than we said. There's so many moving pieces, and even with really good people involved, that can get complicated when it's not fully in-house. And so that's one of the challenges that we feel like we've been successful with, but we're still having to work too hard to manage it. And so we're trying to figure out how to improve that process.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Have you ever had a fire property management company, and what were the reasons behind that decision, if you did?
We have. And so we used to have 2 property management companies, and we now have consolidated to one, the one being the one that we feel just doesn't, they do an excellent job. They treat us like partners, and they treat the properties as if they own them, right? The one that we fired, I think fired's probably too strong of a term, because it basically just kind of get to the point where, like, you know what, this isn't, we think we could both be doing better. And the reason was they didn't do anything overtly wrong or any particular poor performance, or there's no dishonesty, and that's a big one right there. Is in part of your vetting process is do the best you can to find out if the people in the company have created a culture of integrity. But so there was none of those major red flags. But we felt like, after working with them for a few years, that the term we kind of came up with is, they were, instead of proactive partners and managers, they were glorified babysitters. Whereas, they're the staff is there and they're doing everything you're supposed to do, but it's more like check the box, be done, move on. And there just wasn't an eagerness or proactiveness, or how can we really improve? And so we just we gave we gave them written notice, and we very kind of like when you say, well, we broke up, but we're still friends, right? It was that kind of a separation, and and then we just consolidated to the management company that we currently have, and that worked out for the better. So
nice. And maybe share 2 of your best practices of how you manage the manager.
One of our best practices is definitely, and again, this gets back to vetting the management company, because some management companies just don't know what to do with this, and they can't handle it. They want the owners to just go away. We don't do that. We do almost a hybrid model where, yes, we're using third party, but we're very actively involved, not getting in their way with minutia, but just making sure the vision and the direction is spelled out and adhered to, in that we're doing everything we can to empower the on-site staff to be able to do the best that they can. One of the key things that we do to make that happen is we do weekly either conference calls or Zoom calls with myself, the regional manager, the property manager, the maintenance supervisor, the leasing agent, and the maintenance tech. So the entire team is there, right? So the maintenance guy understands how his completion of work orders, or how much he spent on the fixing the AC, he understands how that impacts everybody else and how it fits into the big picture. Also, some management companies, some management companies where it's dishonest. The other management companies, they see it as their job to protect the client by not letting the crap go up the chain, right? But as an owner, you at least want to know what's going on, right? You might not necessarily have to solve it, but you want to know. And what I found is if you get the entire team on a call at once, it's really hard for people to hide information from you because someone's going to blow it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if one someone, if you're on a call with just the manager or just the regional, they can think in advance, be like, okay, we won't say anything about this. And again, they're just trying to maybe make your life easier. It's not necessarily nefarious, but if you've got 6 people on a conference call or a Zoom call at once, you can guarantee they're not going to get 6 people to not slip up, right? So as long as you're good at asking questions, you'll get the truth, you'll get to the root of the matter, and then you can help them solve it. So we found that those calls, with the entire team, and again, all the way down to the maintenance technician, really help us with asset management.
That's great advice. I love it. I'm going to pass it over to Kyle to finish this off.
All right, Andrew, what is your asset management superpower?
I think I just described it, actually, and that's getting in and being involved with every member of the team, but not in a micromanagement minutia, type way, right? So, for example, if we're on a call and they start asking, somehow the conversation gets to the lady in 54A who's not paying rent, we don't want to talk about that. We want, we want to talk about, okay, what are our goals for the year? What are your personal goals? Are you hoping to go on, take a certain vacation at the end of the year? Okay, cool. Well, how can we help make that happen, right? But just, having the team gel, having them know what the vision is, what the end goal is, that we're not going to sell the property in 6 months, right? Because that's one downside of being a property manager is you're always worried about, oh, we sold the property, you don't have a job. So we were very transparent, and so we built a tremendous amount of loyalty, and our managers act like they own those things, and that shows in how they run them day to day. So I think that's our asset management superpower is being able to partner with our third-party management in somewhat of an unusual way to get everybody on the same team and function as if it was in-house and vertically integrated.
Yep, so important. And lastly, where can people find out more about you?
I'm on all the usual social channels, but probably the best way is just if you Google Vantage Point Acquisitions, we're the top result. The website is vpacq.com. There's a tab on there about our mastermind for investors who are looking to scale into multifamily. And then, of course, you can contact us, and there's a couple other contact us forms on there that come to my inbox if you want to have a conversation or explore further.
Perfect. Well, we appreciate you coming on the show. And to all our listeners, this is actually going to be our last episode that airs on the Passive Income Through Multifamily Real Estate podcast. For the Friday episode, we're actually moving it over to Asset Management Mastery. So starting next week, this will be on Asset Management Mastery. Go ahead and like and subscribe and review that so we can continue to grow that audience as well as our Monday show. We appreciate everyone for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next week. Hey, everyone. Thanks again for tuning in. We really appreciate your support. If you're interested in learning more about APT Capital Group and speaking to someone on our team, click on the link and schedule a call with us. We're here to help, and we'd be excited to speak with you and get to know more about you and your goals. Talk to you soon.